Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I would like to run through what features the next patch in line, Alpha 3.17, will be bringing. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support, in particular to my latest channel member, Travis C5. Thank you so much, mate, it is truly appreciated. So with the Q1 patch release fast approaching, and many of the features, well, all of the features barring the ships are now committed, I would like to run through each of them just briefly so we can get an idea of what is coming, what it means for Star Citizen, plus I'm just excited for them, so I would like to talk about them anyway. Now, Alpha 3.17 is set to release around the end of March, with the Evocati testers, the NDA testers, getting their hands on it likely early next month. Personally, I am really excited for this patch as it adds yet another new career mechanic, plus a fundamental MMO feature, the ability to sell. So with that said, in no particular order, let's go through what features are expected to release with Alpha 3.17. First up, we have the final general hospital of the Stanton system. It is Maria Pure of Heart, which is found close to the L19 residences in Lorville. Now this, like the rest of the hospitals, will serve Lorville's main landing zone as its general hospital, allowing players who choose it as their main residence to regenerate there. It'll also provide the local residents with medical treatment and supplies, and like I mentioned, close out all of the main hospitals for the Stanton system. Not to say that we won't ever see any more hospitals in Stanton, it's just these initial 4 CIG wanted for each landing zone before moving on to other things. Now, the hospitals themselves don't generally excite me all that much, although I do love what they provide. I'm more excited that the developers over in Montreal, who were working on them, will all soon be working on other things, more exciting things like shipwrecks, homestead wrecks, and the like, as we have been seeing on Inside Star Citizen recently. So, as much as I'm looking forward to seeing the hospital, I am definitely more excited for the Montreal team to now move on to bigger and better things. Next up, we have the DNA head texture update, also recently seen on Inside Star Citizen, and after watching the episode a few more times, there is definitely a lot of improvements to our characters on the way. This includes more head options to choose from and blend with, more realistic textures of the skins, more ethnicity options, better looking eyes, eyebrow options, and many more improvements for how the characters' heads and faces react to light more naturally. So I'm really hoping and expecting to see more definable characters running around and more choice to be who we want to be or how we want to look. And I'm looking forward to the day that we will be able to begin recognizing friends and people we know in-game purely by their in-game face. Is the release of 3.17 going to be that day? I hope so. Now, the next feature are these new mining gadgets, which appear to do similar things to the modules and such, but via a different application method, allowing players to hand place these devices directly onto the mineable rock that they wish to crack, so altering the mining requirements. Now, for me, the mining lasers and consumables I find very useful, and I use them on a regular basis. The passive modules, not so much. I have yet to find a need to replace a consumable with a passive module. Not to say their values won't change, of course. I'm sure if they are not getting as used as CIG want them to, they will tweak them. But what I'm hoping these gadgets will provide are good enough reasons to want to carry them and EVA to use them over just using a consumable. And like I just said, I'm sure everything currently in development will have many use cases, and if they don't, they will be tweaked and adjusted to ensure that they do, but I would like to feel the need right out of the gate. Maybe having harder to mine rocks would be a good option, and I'm still hopeful for mining veins as well. Of course, the dynamic economy will surely have us reaching for various devices that we have not used before, as certain minerals will require different approaches. But at least I know that for players who may be renting a default prospector, these gadgets will provide the ability for them to mine more rocks than what they probably could with just the default loadout. So for me, I'm intrigued by these gadgets, and I like the new method of deploying them and eventually looting them from miners' wrecks to sell on one day. But whether I adopt these gadgets into my day-to-day mining activities is unknown at this time. Now, the next feature we have is probably the most controversial feature since probably the bartender. It is the coffee shop vendor, which will be taking the bartender behavior and expanding on that and applying it to the coffee shop. Now, this is likely part of the whole shops and patrons deliverable on the progress tracker that came to a close this month, which involves improving and expanding the interactive usables for various shops, extending the bartender behavior and applying that to pizza bars, kiosks, and, well, everything else. This will one day roll out to all the other vendors as well, like weapon shops, Dumper's Depot, the illegal goods dealer, pretty much every NPC vendor that we have. Having the vendor interactively grab the item that you want and place it in front of you to create that sense that they are actually alive and interacting with the world. Not a huge feature, I know, but A, it will be nice to see the NPC vendors expanding more, and B, I actually quite look forward to the RP option of grabbing a coffee to go on my next mining op. So one of the new additions which appeared only last week is the Space Station Clinics variations. Now this, as you can imagine, will just bring a bit more variety to the current Space Station Clinics that we have, so they don't all look the same. Just like what we saw with the space stations themselves, not a big feature by any means, but as is often the case, the little features here and there do add up. So the next one, which is one of two of the features that I'm most excited for in Alpha 3.17, is ship-to-ship refueling. Now, before we get into it, I'm actually expecting this feature to unfold in the PU similarly to how medical and medical beacons did for Alpha 3.15. So great to start with when it first releases, but over time, less and less people use it over just respawning or reclaiming their ship. Mainly as there are not enough reasons to want to wait around for help, excluding the situations where you may have a lot of looted gear or personal goods, cargo, mined goods and so forth. Most people will just simply regenerate. But as more of these punishments come in, permanence and persistence expands, and the want to stay alive or retain everything that you have becomes more prominent, as well as maybe security systems and AI becoming more fleshed out, so you know that you're not just going to be walking into a trap so easily. I think more and more people will slowly begin relying on help from the general public or NPCs when they are capable of refueling you as well. For me though, this is another career mechanic making its way into the PU that I will be able to sink my teeth into and learn as much as I can. Just like I am still learning things about the medical profession months after that was even released. I really look forward to taking the Starfarer out with my org and just practicing how the whole refueling process works for both the refueler and refuelee, and watching it grow as it gets refined. A great new profession that may not see a lot of use in the Stanton system, but once Pyro does come along, it'll likely come into its own and be extremely profitable, if not slightly dangerous at times as well. So the final feature that is committed, meaning CIG are about 90% certain that it will make it into the next release, is my personal favourite for this patch, and it is selling items back to shops. Now, we know this is only going to apply to personal items, so weapons, armors, undersuits, equipment, and the various things found at Rex for the first iteration. Over time, it will expand to selling ship weapons and ship components, and of course, ships and vehicles themselves even. But for 3.17, just personal items alone will be enough for me to spend more time in-game treasure hunting and scavenging what I can find to make a living. I also suspect that for my Zero to Hero series, like Arid Wrath and Arthur Cam over at Twitch, they will spend quite a bit of time filling up their ships with as much loot as they can find to sell on and make some money. Now, we don't know much about what the initial selling feature will be like or involve beyond finding gear, loading it into our ships, and then using a kiosk at a location that buys these goods to sell on for credits. Kind of similar to how cargo hauling works right now, not physically taking these items to shops yet, but using kiosks that will recognize them in your ship's inventory and selling them on. But what I would like to know is, will there be any gear that have wear and tear applied with 3.17 affecting the value of items we're selling? Personally, I'm not expecting it to, but it will be nice if it does. Either way, I'm sure that many of us are looking forward to becoming loot goblins, taking every last scrap of saleable loot and making as much profit as possible. Let us just hope that there is enough to go around. So, there are 2 ships slated to release with Alpha 317. Both are still tentative, not yet committed, meaning CIG are about 70% confident that they can get them in. But after seeing the progress thus far, I am expecting them to make it in. And if not for the initial 317 release, then potentially a 317-1. The first ship is the RSI Scorpius, which is the 2-seater heavy fighter X-Wing. Not much to say about this ship. It is a cool looking ship that I'm sure will be a lot of fun to use. But the Misk Hull is a ship that does excite me a little more, purely as it is the first of the Hull series lineup that has been a long time coming, and for anyone looking to dip their toes into cargo hauling, a great starting point. For it to really shine though, it does really need the dynamic economy and cargo refactor, but after seeing these folding cargo grids, it is already looking like something pretty special. So that is all the current slated features set to release in Alpha 317. As I say, all but the ships are now committed, so I would be surprised if any of those slip. But that's not to say that they won't, of course. Also, just like we have seen with the Space Station Clinic variations just suddenly appearing, we may see more features appear for 317, alongside more potential balancing, tuning, and performance benefits. Alpha 317 is set to release at the end of March, and as usual I will cover all of the leaked Evocati patch notes as they begin to roll out, and I am personally very excited for the first patch of the year. But with that said, if you do enjoy my content, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come and follow me over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. You are all more than welcome. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does do the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members for all of your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.